Greetings from 2023. Happy New Year to everybody out there from the Jay Shrayway. Thank you guys for supporting the channel for the past year. We are about a week into the new year, and I had to catch up on some movies from last year, but I wanted to do a top 10 ranking video. I've always wanted to do one of these. I've always loved watching a lot of my peers talk about a lot of their favorite movies, and some of the ones I've seen, we have some in common and a lot different. So if your favorite movie isn't on this list, please don't hate me. I didn't get to see everything from 2022, but I caught up on quite a bit. For example, I didn't get to see Whale with Brendan Fraser yet. I really want to see that. I just gotta wait for it to pop up somewhere. Also Tar with Cate Blanchett, which I heard is a masterpiece. I haven't been able to see that yet either. But my list is going to be fun and unorthodox, so let's start with the honorable mentions of 2022. I'm going to breeze through these pretty quickly. First, I want to talk about an Amazon original movie starring Harry Styles called My Policeman. It's a period piece about gay lovers and a love triangle pretty much, and it just had me deeply invested. I mean, I'm a big fan of Harry Styles, and I think he gets too much flack for no reason. He's a great actor so far. The other leads were really great in it, and it's telling two non-linear stories at different points in time about young adults and then them as older folk. The reason I wanted to shed some light on it, and it stuck with me, is the final 5 minutes had me in an absolute chokehold. It's beautifully shot. It's the same guy that did the cinematography for Banshees of Inisherin. But yeah, that ending just hit me at the highest level of emotions. I really loved it. Second honorable mention is going to be The Gray Man with Ryan Gosling, mainly just because I love Gosling and the Russo brothers. I love them from Avengers, you know, all that. I love their slick action style of directing, and seeing Ryan Gosling finally go into his own as this badass. He got all buff and muscular. I've been waiting to see that, because Drive, you get hints of his rage, but it's more of an indie art house film. The Gray Man is just kind of like a classic action guy flick. I feel like you could put this on for your dad and he'd love it. Third honorable mention is going to be Incantation. It's a Taiwanese Netflix horror film. I did a TikTok about it earlier in the year and it kind of blew up. Very random, but I was happy to recommend this movie to so many people. It has like, it's a first-person found footage movie, and a lot of it has vibes of Resident Evil and Outlast with some of those jump scares, man. The whole movie's just a trip. It's very bizarre, very morbid. Got under my skin so bad, dude, so deep. And yeah, I thought it was the scariest movie of last year just for the pure scare factor. Fourth honorable mention is going to be The Menu with Ralph Fiennes, mainly just because of Ralph Fiennes. I mean, the whole movie is beautiful to look at. It's just got this sleek style to it. Really calm, somber cinematography, but you know shit's gonna hit the fan, and it does, but it's more of a subtle, metaphorical movie, but it just breezes in the right amount of like humor and on-the-nose jokes, picking fun at people like foodies. Ralph Fiennes gave an Oscar-worthy performance in this movie, and I mean, everybody's great. Anya Taylor-Joy is always amazing. She had a great year. Chef was easily one of my favorite villains of the year. My last honorable mention is going to be Avatar 2, The Way of Water. I couldn't just neglect this movie. I've already seen it twice. Just pure epic fantasy to the highest scope. You just don't get a whole lot of movies like this anymore. I liked it a lot more than the first. It made me an actual fan of Pandora. The characters were leveled out so well in this, and there's a time jump from the first movie, but it's so natural, I thought. What they handed to me, I accepted it and ran with that baton, and I thought the movie flew by. The main thing I kind of compared it to was the way Dawn of the Planet of the Apes was. It was kind of a tonal shift from the first one. This one's still got some humor and some classic 2000s like one-liners like James Cameron does in a lot of his movies. Those are my 5 honorable mentions. Now we're going to get to the top 10, starting out at number 10. You know I'm a Marvel guy, and every year they usually have one movie make it into my top 10, and I'm thankful that this one did, because this is probably their worst year they've had in a while, in my opinion. But Black Panther took me back to the roots of some of that serious edge that Marvel had in Phase 2 and 3, and I was really wrapped up in this movie, and I did not feel the excitement for it. I thought it might have been distasteful to make it, and just not stopping. They always pump out these movies. And even with somebody dying, the lead star, Chadwick Boseman, they had already announced it. And I'm like, okay. And they still did it with so much respect. It was the classiest effort. And it was almost, I think it was better than the first. And a lot of people wouldn't agree with that. I find that to be a crazy accomplishment with all the hill they had to go over and all the challenges they had to face. I thought everything was dope. Namor was a great new character that we're probably going to see more of. He's going to be a big force in the MCU, hopefully. Shuri stepped into her own so beautifully, dude. Letitia Wright, such a great actress, and she reminded us, because we forgot a little bit since that first Black Panther, how good she really is. I do admit it is a little weird that she was so combat ready. In the first one, she's more of a lab rat. There's a little bit of stretching the imagination there, but it's Marvel and talking wizards and all the shit we're talking about. Moving on to number 9. I'm shocked to say this, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. This is easily my favorite animated film of the year. I always loved this character of Puss in Boots, and I just felt like he just never really got up to his potential. I hardly remember that original Puss in Boots movie, which was 10 years ago now, but I heard good things about this one. It had everything. It was a breakneck pace, it had humor, it had family emotion, and then it had the best villain of the year with that wolf. Death is what I guess we call him. I can't get enough of that. I can't wait to buy the Blu-ray and rewatch all of his moments, man. Bone-chilling. For an animated film, it's scary. For adults, I found him to be, I mean, I'm a young adult, but I found him to be pretty disturbing. This one is just a brilliant story, and when I heard about it, I was like, they can't really do wrong with this. This sounds like a great script with how he's on his last life, and the way Death is telling him what he needs to do and valuing his life. The more you get into it, it gets really deep and really profound. That sock story was really, really messed up. Yeah, I'll probably skip that part when I rewatch the movie. It's pretty sad. Coming in at number 8 is one I just watched, and I was captivated. I watched this on my couch, and usually watching movies at home, for me, it doesn't hit the same, doesn't leave a lasting impression like I get in the theater. But this is 13 Lives, an Amazon Prime original movie that's based off a true story about those boys, the soccer team that got stuck in those caves in Thailand. That story was crazy as it was happening in the news, and it's just such a courageous, like, miracle of a moment in history. And I think this movie was just such a smart idea. It didn't come off as a cash grab. It came off as just like a really authentic telling of how hard this was for all these people. I mean, those kids were in there meditating for days, man, surviving. And it has Colin Farrell and Viggo Mortensen, Aragorn from fucking Lord of the Rings, and they both give amazing performances. Like, I love Colin Farrell. He had probably one of the best years of any actor with The Penguin and After Yang and all these movies. A lot of people didn't see him in 13 Lives, and he completely changes himself again. The dude's a chameleon. Watching interviews of these real guys that were playing these real heroes, it's pretty crazy seeing how well they captured their mannerisms, and just gave me a level of respect for these dudes. I didn't even know what they looked like until after the movie. This one was directed by Ron Howard, and that dude's a mastermind, and this is one of his best films in my opinion. On to number 7. This is going to be probably the most disturbing movie of the year for me, Bones and All. It's that little Timothée Chalamet romance movie that you're probably going to see on Tumblr and all these posts about it, because it looks beautiful in the posters, but God, man, this movie's disgusting. It's just downright dirty right off the bat. It left me just like arms up here during a lot of the movie, man. Like parts where I wanted to look away, I usually don't do that, but I found this movie to be horrifying in a way that you don't usually get from horror films. I don't even know if people would classify this as horror. It's definitely a drama, romance, but some of the moments that happen are downright bone-chilling, dude. I found this to be scary as hell. It really shows you a side of life you don't really know that much about and you don't want to learn about just cannibalism and people, like, how they survive with this. And even if it's a little bit of fiction, it's still really fucked up and sad, and yeah, it broke my heart. It's a really messed up movie. Coming in at number 6 is the movie I saw earlier in the year that stayed around this spot. I have to say, it's my favorite film by Robert Eggers, and you can see I got the lighthouse picture back there. Big fan of his work, but I thought this one just had it all. It was cohesive. It was just more of a first, second, and third act. A lot of his movies are really ambiguous, and they don't really have fully fleshed out arcs, but this one I thought everybody got their moments. It's trippy. It has a standard Viking feel at first, but it shows you that Vikings were actually messy, disgusting humans, and it's just got this just in your face, like pedal to the metal feel, but then it turns into this psychedelic trip at certain points with these visions. Really, really captivating movie. It was epic. That manly, barbaric, epic, medieval story. This is the one I've kind of always wanted to see. I thought it was just next level of just realism and craziness. Now we're getting into the top 5. My number 5 is a very near and dear movie. Love this movie. I watched it a lot since it came out. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sonic has always been my favorite video game character. This movie just gave me all of it, man. This first Sonic movie, I was so happy that he got some attention, and that movie was fun and all, but it wasn't really what I was looking for. It didn't really have a lot of the flair of the game. It was more of just Sonic the character in a funny little action comedy movie. This one felt like it was actually inspired by the games. We got Knuckles and Tails in there, they were amazing. You get a lot of moments with them too. You get to see them so much in the movie, and I love watching that final battle against the Death Egg or whatever. I don't know what Robotnik called that at the end. But Jim Carrey is probably my favorite form of Dr. Eggman, which is crazy because I've played so many of the games, but I loved his take on the character. He has so many laugh out loud moments. His relationship with Agent Stone, fucking hilarious when he tells him to cue on that music. I can't remember what song they play, but he's like marching through as the Death Egg. That shit cracks me up, man. I think it's a great kids movie, and it was great for young adults like myself that have waited to see good video game films. I thought this is epic. And then you get Super Saiyan moment at the end with Super Sonic. We all wanted to see that, and they did it. Sonic 3 coming out in December is going to be nuts, man. It's going to be the movie I've waited for my whole life. We're getting Shadow the Hedgehog versus Sonic. It's coming out against Avatar 3, but I'll buy like 10 tickets for Sonic 3 before I see Avatar 3. As excited as I am for both. Number 4 is my favorite horror film of the year. Not the scariest, but just all around a good time. It is Barbarian with Bill Skarsgård. Georgina Campbell became a big scream queen in this movie. Really love this one, man. It's just easy to put on. I can't wait till this upcoming fall to show it to people when we have our horror watch-alongs, you know, all that stuff. It's just a good recommendation for young audiences nowadays because it's set in an Airbnb. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's pretty much everything hits the fan about 20 minutes into the movie. And every reveal is just crazy. It keeps you sucked in, and you'll never guess what's coming. I don't know anybody that can predict how this movie is going to play out. The thing that's scaring you was really effective, sad, and it was leveled out. There's maybe a few questions, but I feel like the story is really short and contained, even though it feels big at some points, but it all makes sense by the end. Top 3 time, baby. And number 3 is probably the funnest action movie in years, even better than some of the Marvel movies I loved. I just had a blast with this. It gave you everything that you want out of a movie. You know what it is. Top Gun Maverick. Oh my God, man, this movie, I had no real care for it. It was supposed to come out like 2019, right around when COVID first started hitting the surface, and yeah, that November of 2019, and we finally got it years later, and wow, man, it shows that hard work and dedication and being passionate about something really does mean something, because this movie is the biggest success of Tom Cruise's career, and he's pretty much the one that barriered that movie from getting out earlier or getting it dumped on streaming on Paramount Plus to get more subscriptions. He wouldn't let that shit fly because he cares about his craft so much. And it paid off. There's not much to say. It's just a masterpiece. One of the best action films of my lifetime. Great emotion. Miles Teller gave in his best performance, and he's reinventing himself as a star. He's never really had the breakout role. This is it. Now we're on to the top 2. Number 2 is going to be The Batman. You knew it had to make it. I mean, this movie is just shrouded in beauty and just oozing with like mood and the cinematography. It's one of the best, probably the best shot superhero film, I would say, not even a competition. They use the volume stage, that new technology. They use that so well. So intimate, so personal. The way they focus in on the camera with the actors' faces, and you can see all the stubble on Batman. It was just beautiful details, man. Felt a lot like the Arkham games, just POV of what it's like to be Batman. There's some things that I didn't love. The first time I watched it, I was just not prepared. I didn't know how to handle it. But second watch and third, fourth, all of the times I've watched it since I've owned it, love it, man. But it's definitely different. It's got this edge to it, this grit. But I think it's just a flawless superhero film, and definitely the best superhero film of the year. Paul Dano has been like one of my favorite actors since Prisoners, and I feel like people are finally recognizing him from this one. He was on such a grand stage, and this made a lot of money. People are finally noticing him. And then he was great in The Fabelmans, but that didn't make it on the list. Colin Farrell's Penguin, as little as we got, he was right up there at top 3 for me. Can't wait for his show. It's starting, they're going to start filming it in February, so it's going to continue on in this Matt Reeves Batman universe. I cannot wait. But number 1 is one of the most profound movies that's ever been filmed. I can't believe these crazy sons of bitches made this. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. I hope everybody watching this has seen it by now, but if you haven't, just give it your time. It's pretty long. It's got an epic feel, but it wasn't filmed like a huge action scope movie. Like if you watch a lot of the behind the scenes, they really filmed this in clever ways. in their garage at some point. Just so much dedication to their craft, and this movie just touches on life and just everybody's place in the world in such a out there way, man. It's the most touched I've been by a movie since Interstellar, like emotionally and personally. I just found it to be something that like I'm gonna want to show like my legacy, like grandkids, all that. I want them to see this. It's just such an important movie. Type of stuff you get in like certain animes. There's some beautiful anime out there that makes you think and reflect, and you don't always get that in live action. This one does it to the highest standard. I thought it was phenomenal. I hope Michelle Yeoh gets an Oscar nomination. We're going to find out pretty soon, and there's a lot of momentum. This movie came out in April. It started releasing more and more throughout the year, but usually like those Oscar bait movies are later in the year, but this one's just so good that it hasn't lost its chatter. Everybody's still talking about it, and I hope it gets the shine that it deserves at the awards. And Ki Kwan returning to acting after being a young child actor as Wayman, my favorite character of the year. This character is just so beautifully written, man, and he's just, you can't watch this movie and not love him. You just connect to him so quickly, and his performance is nuts because he's switching in and out of different people. They're all great. Jamie Lee Curtis is great in it. Stephanie Hsu, so many great performances. Just a masterclass of what movies are made for. That is my top 10 movies of 2022. If you sat through it all, thank you very much. I've talked so much, I'm starting to lose my voice. I'm just happy I got this out here, and I hope I gave you guys some good recommendations, and some of these movies hit you the way they hit me. Go ahead and comment your top 10, top 5. Let me know movies that you recommend to me. It's a new year. It's going to be filled with great cinema. Let's see what 2023 has in store for us. Thank you guys for coming by. The Jay Shrey Way.